Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks and you are checking out a massive tutorial for ADSR sounds. In this video, we're going to be checking out how you can make a DJ Mustard style bass in Massive. I'm also going to touch a little bit on the arrangement and just kind of the fusion of styles that make that type of sound come to fruition. So the type of artist that DJ Mustard's worked with that's kind of popularized this sound would be like Chris Brown, Jeremiah, Kid Ink, Fetty Wap. I love saying his name. That type of kind of like a club urban pop song. It's used in hip hop and it's fused with deep house of all things. So whether you're a fan of DJ Mustard or not, what he did was I don't know a lot about him, but it's kind of cool. It's basically a fusion of bass heavy West Coast hip hop, but married with deep house, and he basically doing deep house rhythms with the bass and putting it over, kind of a typical poppy Southern 808 style drum groove, and you get that type of music. So I have a little progression worked up. The tracks in red are the basses that we're going to be recreating. All right, so the reason there are two is because with a lot of the songs that I was referencing for this little demo, it's usually an analog style bass, something that sounds very analog, retro, vintage, whatever word you want to use, like a Moog or a Prophet, something like that, layered in with another bass. Now, some of his songs are just straight up very analog style bass, so I was kind of like, well, it's going to be hard to create a DJ Mustard style bass because he's done so many different types or he's kind of reinvented the wheel a few times with his sound. But basically, it all kind of comes down to using some sort of analog sounding bass, which is why we're going to be recreating this kind of like a Moog style bass. Right? And then layering it, which we'll touch on later, with some kind of like deep house oriented bass gets usually cool results, or some more interesting type of bass. So what I'm going to do now is duplicate this track. We're going to copy and paste it down, mute these, and I'm going to talk about the compression in a little bit, don't worry. So we're going to do File, New Sound, and let's listen to this right now. So I'm going to turn that stuff down for now. So we'll just move this up here, and I will turn everything except the bass. I'll have everything skewing towards the bass volume. All right, so with this, first thing you're going to do, if we're going for like that retro mini Moog sound, you don't want to get too weird with the wavetable choices. You want to keep it pretty much sawish or squarish. So we're going to use, we'll do just virtual analog on all of these for this sound. And we're going to activate all three oscillators right now. So first oscillator, we want to do a bass. So we're going to detune this to -24, so 2 octaves. And the position, we're going to turn the pulse position down. And we're going to keep the pulse width just a little bit under halfway. All right, so got like a saw sound going on. Now, oscillator 2, I turned that off just so we could hear oscillator 1 in isolation. What we're going to do here is pitch this down to -12, keep the pulse saw position up all the way to the right. So these are kind of, it's not the exact same sound. Pulse width around halfway, narrow it a little, and keep the amp where it is. All right, like I said, DJ Mustard takes a huge influence from deep house with these types of progressions. So what we're going to be doing with oscillator 3 is we're going to be tuning this to a kind of like a deep house value that you would get. So you could do a few of these. You could do plus. We can do +7 for this. I actually do -5, so that's the same thing. I'm trying to do a fifth. So a fifth would be from C to G, would be either 7 semitones above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, if you're counting up in half steps, from C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, that would be 7. But you can also hit that G under if you were starting on C, for instance, and so that's why I just did, so -5. And then amp that to taste however you want. Okay, so we're gonna go to the modulation oscillator now, and we're gonna apply just a little bit of ring mod to our first oscillator. So we can hear what this does to sound. So I turned off the other two oscillators. What this does is it adds a little bit of an interesting kind of element to the sound. And it kind of muffles it and makes it less bright, which is kind of nice. All right, I'm gonna add just a little bit of white noise, just a pinch. Okay, for your filter type, if you want to go real analog with this, you could go Daft. It's one of the more analog sounding filters inside of Massive. So let's take the cutoff down all the way, turn the resonance down, and let's go to a pitch envelope, or sorry, not a pitch envelope, we're gonna go to an envelope that we're gonna use as a filter envelope. So turn the attack all the way down. We don't want much attack time with this because it's kind of a plucky bass. Turn the level down a good amount and turn the release up. And what we're gonna do, make sure it's on gate. We're gonna modulate the cutoff of our filter 1 with this pretty much all the way out. And what this will do is it's controlling the frequencies that are opening and closing depending on how you modulate, but we're opening up frequencies. It's gonna control it with this envelope shape. All right, so let's go to our voicing tab now that we have the general sound in play. I'm gonna give it more voices of unison. We're gonna add a little bit of pitch cutoff to it, and we're just drag this out like that. So that's kind of detuning the voices. And then let's make it a little bit wider. I don't like doing full left and right on this pan position. This pan position are gonna spread out those voices of unison. I just wanna do a little bit. It's a little bit wider. All right, and then let's do a pitch envelope now. We're gonna go to envelope 2, make it have no attack, make the decay very, very low, and we're gonna modulate the pitch up to positive 64 to add kind of this like kick ticks, so this doesn't have as hard of a time fighting with the kick. Actually, let's try that on oscillator 2 because we're running oscillator 1 in the ring mod. All right, so for voicing, let's go back. We're gonna do monophonic, and we'll add just a little bit of glide time. Okay, and then let's go to the 4th envelope because that's tied to the output. We're just gonna add a little bit of release and turn the attack time down. All right, and now for the effects, let's add a little bit of the classic tube to the sound. Do that to taste, depends how crunchy you want it. And then we're gonna also add some of the ensemble coarse, the coarse ensemble to widen this and make it have a little bit more of a vintagey analog type sound. So we're gonna turn the dry wet down a good amount, turn the rate under halfway, because if the rate's too high, it kind of makes it shimmery, the shimmery type coarse ensemble, which we don't want, and turn the depth down a good amount. Sounds too out of tune. All right, and then you can EQ this to taste if you like. Okay, so there is just a general style kind of analog bass. And that is a lot of what you'll hear in a DJ Mustard style song. And you can mess with it by actually going to one voice in unison, which is sometimes nice, or even two, to make it smaller. But basically what he'll do is he'll layer that, or he'll find some way to make that sound a little bit more interesting. So the reason why I say for this, in this tutorial, it just makes more sense just to kind of have a good analog style, Moog style bass in your arsenal like the one we just made, which is why we recreated it. and then layer it with some interesting bass, because it gives it this idea of, or it makes the listener kind of be like, oh, it's hip hop. It's kind of West Coast fused with deep house. So I could run through. We could run through and we could find. We'll go to my future deep house pack here, and we'll just go through some of the basses real quick. So we could layer it with that. Let me turn down the reverb a little. So here is the Moog style bass, and here is this deep housey one. So we could layer it with this. This is straight up deep house. Right, and let me turn up the other elements in the mix now. So yeah, layer it with some type of interesting bass, and it will make it a little bit your own. It won't sound just like DJ Mustard, which is always a plus, but then also it gives it that fusion of maybe deep house, EDM, meeting that kind of West Coast old school hip hop. So last thing I wanted to talk about was something I did here on the kick. We'll throw this little bonus tip in. If you're going to do a DJ Mustard type thing, you'll notice that the kick and the bass are sharing a lot of transients, right? Because it's not necessarily a groove, and it's not necessarily the bass is just happening on, the pockets of the groove. So you can see here, kick bass sharing, kick bass sharing, kick bass is sharing there, kick bass is sharing here. So some of these hits are going to fight for frequency and kind of going to have a hard time popping out of your mix. So what you can do is just sidechain these two together, or create a sidechain situation. So this is my kick, this is the bass. I loaded up Logic X compressor. I'm going to sidechain input the kick. And then what you can do, it will start to kind of lower the volume, will duck out of the way a little bit. It'll start to compress that sound, which is nice when they share the kicks. So all right, but there it is. There's how you can start to create those DJ Mustard style sounds in Massive with a kind of cool analog bass, and then you can layer that with any type of bass that you want. If you guys have any questions or comments, post them up below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said at the beginning of the tutorial, I'm Echo Soundworks. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time.